This video is helpful to introduce a tool for teachers to documenting, reflecting and sharing their IPSE activity. The tool useful for this purpose is the experimental report, which is useful in all the phases of IPSE activity. First of all, in documenting. In fact, the experimental report helps the teacher to implement the method. It's something like a few keywords that helps you during the activity to remember what's going on. The experimental report is useful because it makes the activity clear, both for students and teacher, because in every steps of the activity they can, from the report, know in which point they are and which are the action on which they are focusing. And this is helpful for teachers also because make the activity more verifiable. Moreover, for the same reasons, the experimental report provides the monitoring of the group activity because thanks to have a look from the report, the teacher can understand in which part of the activity each group is involved. And finally, provides a summary of the activity that are made in classroom. The teacher can decide the format for the experimental report. This will be very formal, so they can decide a format and share this with the students in order to report the activity and documenting it. Or they just can decide the sequence of each action is needed to make this activity, but without using a precise format. In next slide, I will show to you a formal used by ANISM in Italian teacher training. About the reflection phase, the report is very useful because thanks to the report you can retrace all the experimental activity. The report is very useful also because underline the difference between an IPSE activity from a traditional one, and it's useful to highlight the key points of the IPSE method. As your students, writing down your experimental report will allow you to reflect about the activity you are carrying out and also which are the goals. The report, in fact, encourages individual self-reflection and self-assessment. And from this reflection, sometimes you can decide that you need to change your activity, even if this is still ongoing. The experimental report is useful for sharing because it clearly analyzes the strengths and weaknesses of the module, so you can change your activity even if this is ongoing. Helps you to reflect about the activity goals and if all the activity you have think about are suitable or not. It's a great tool to have evidence about your methodological work because, as you will see in next slide, in the report you can divide your work in each step of IPSE. Moreover, it's a great tool to communicate and share your work between your colleagues but also with your students, so if the students have some trouble about some activity reflecting on your experimental report you can make some change. And finally, it's very useful for dissemination when you have to share your experience with teacher of the same grade or for teacher with different grade of school, so you can think if the activity you have designed will be suitable also for students of different age. Let's talk about the strength and weakness of experimental report. Starting from the weakness, it takes a lot of time because you need to write down each activity you make in classroom, but of course it's not an official activity, so you have to do this work in addition to the work you make every day. And also it requires homogeneity because the experimental report to be compared between them have to follow the same format. Even if you do not decide to use a formal format, you need to use the same format. But talking about the strength point, it's very useful to make comparison between the work of different teachers in different classrooms because it begins a standardized reporting tool. Moreover, thanks to the experimental report, you will build your own database of IPSE experiments. In next slide, we will propose to you a report format based on the model of 5E. The first part of the report it's used to make the background of the classroom and the teacher, because you just have to add some information about the school, the students, the number of students involved, the time you need to make the whole activity, and also the experience of students in IPSE. For the implementation, you have to writing down from each phase, in this case engage and explore, the activity you carried out, the goal you want to reach, and the time needed to make this activity. This is the other three parts of the IPSE activity. Of course, to write down the activity goal and timeline, you are completely free to decide the way in which you would report this, because it depends, of course, of the age of your students and the type of school. To have an idea about how much time required each activity, you can also make a synthesis in which you put the date, the time needed, the teacher involved in activity, and what you have done during this classroom work. This other part of synthesis focused on the findings achieved. In fact, in this part of the format, you are answering the questions, talking about if your students have understand what they have explained, if they learn something new, and if they have some misconception, you have to work on this. So you can write down also the strengths and weakness of the activity and the reflection you made in order to improve it in next time you want to do this activity in the classroom. And you can write down also the material and attach some other posters, notice, or a video, or wherever you want. I hope you find this information useful and good work using the experimental report. Thank you for your attention.